Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. This is the Second Amendment Foundation's daily video program. We interview people who are making a difference in the gun rights world. Joining me today, I am very proud to say, is Gene Hoffman. Gene is one of the founders of what was Cal Guns, now CGF, for the California Gun Rights Foundation. Gene, thanks for joining us today, man.
Paul, thank you for having me.
So let's, as I usually do when we start talking about state level groups, let's start with Cal Guns as it was then. What brought about the beginning of Cal Guns?
Well, there were a couple things. With the expiration of the federal assault weapons ban, a few smart Californians started to figure out that, in fact, AR-15s probably weren't banned in California. You could actually buy what can be called off-list lowers, so lower receivers that weren't listed and didn't have any of the features. You could actually acquire them. And, there's this other kind of national effect where, if you went to AR-15.com online and said you were from California, you got yelled at and abused and generally thrown out. So, we all kind of came together on a site called calguns.net, and we started to actually import large group buys of these off-list lowers. And what happened is we had a couple various members get into law enforcement trouble. And the thing is, they were doing stuff that was completely illegal. And we quickly were able to raise amongst the community, $50,000 in a day or two for various different things. We probably did that 3 different times. And it became very clear to me that we had this group of Hollywood armorers and Silicon Valley tech geeks and, the Silicon Valley hardware guys, so Intel and Sacramento folks, that really cared about the issue, had deep pockets, and really absolutely wanted to bring AR-15s back to California. So once we figured that out, it became pretty obvious that an organization that could, be a C3, add tax deductibility to that, and really go and both defend the innocent. I mean, these people are often totally innocent. The number of people we defended who, possessed a large capacity magazine, well, that's not actually illegal in California until very recently. So, it was those kinds of things. And so we were able to basically push back on the Department of Justice and the local DA's attempts to make our gun laws wider than they already are. And then really start to walk that back with Heller and McDonald. We were very much a creature born after the Heller decision. We have kind of gone on a now 11-year offensive, lawsuit strategy. We've gotten, I believe it's 2 dissents from Justice Thomas on cases that we should have had taken at the Supreme Court. Obviously, I'm hoping that if this airs a little later, we have a way to count to maybe 6, but certainly 5 at the time people are looking at this now. So, we've attacked everything from assault weapons, obviously, but we originally went after them a little bit more indirectly. We wanted to get the handgun roster first. Mm-hmm. We wanted to prove that, certainly handguns were protected. That means all types of handguns are protected, not just, the one gun California wants you to have, right? That case was denied in the most recent round of Supreme Court denials, but the world has changed. We're currently in Miller, a case down in San Diego. We expect to have the assault weapons feature ban struck down. It's a very friendly court and has been very correctly following Heller. Both in magazine cases and in assault rifle cases. It's exactly what we want to have. And, California, one of the 6 deadly states, right? These are the places where these bad laws exist. So that's very much also why California. Recently, the name changed. So, I want to make sure everybody understood that calguns.net was a forum and not us. Right. The California Gun Rights Foundation is the entity that does all the litigation work. But everybody knew us as CGF, and we're still CGF.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk about normally what I'll do is, and you've already mentioned a few, but I want you to give some specifics since founding and maybe that have slipped the minds of some people, because you guys have been going for 11 years. What are some victories you're proud of? Well,
one of the first things we did is we proved that off-list lowers were legal. I went out and I bought two of the seized ones and forced the DOJ to give them back to me. And it was kind of that, final step of proving to people that, yes, the Department of Justice in California had to actually deliver the firearm back. So if they had to do that, then there's no way it's a crime, right? Another piece of this is I was the co-inventor of the bullet button. And the bullet button ended up being this major, impact, because basically you could have all the evil features and only a very minor problem, using a bullet, frankly, to release your magazine. The organization was able to be there to defend everybody. It was really getting past kind of that battered gun owner syndrome in California. It's a thing now of the past, but one of the big things we've done is really get gun owners to read the laws and go right up to the line, but not over here in California. And that change has really reinvigorated the gun community. It's as much a social effort to keep people interested in firearms and, bringing their kids to ranges. It's getting that to happen, and then also being a little larger inclusive tent. I mean, you can't do anything in California without Democrats around. Our GOP can't even keep a super minority.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about that. For people who may have just been around the last few years, or maybe just coming into gun rights, the bullet button, could you explain what the legislature wanted you to have to do, and explain the bullet button itself? Because
sure.
the ingenuity will always, there's always going to be workarounds to everything. That's why laws just against things just don't work.
Well, look, to answer your second point first, when I first saw all this situation, I was kind of like, why haven't we bear hugged the Department of Justice? Because, normally the regulated entities end up controlling their regulators. And, at this point, we've now kind of beat them senseless into that. They now know that whatever they do, they're going to get yelled at or sued until they do what they have to do instead of what they want to do. But the bullet button. So originally the intent of the legislators was to ban detachable magazines. And, we all kind of know what that idea is. But the SKS was this massively popular rifle at Big Five in California, with literally millions sold in California. And the classic SKS with the fold-down magazine, right, wasn't what they wanted to ban. But if you think about it, you can actually use a 7.62 round to actually take that magazine off. So they specifically defined that detachable meant without the use of a tool. So what we did is, having thought that through, we created a new AR maglock. And that maglock was basically like a regular looking magazine button, but it was hollowed out. It had a 223, actually like 224 hole in it that you could push the bullet through, press the spring, and that would actually actuate the magazine release. So while your 10-round magazine, because you couldn't use a 11-round magazine thanks to California law, but when your 10-round magazine was in, it was considered not detachable because it required a tool to remove. You used your finger and pressed the button, nothing happened. But once you hit that button, it was now detached exactly the same way the SKS magazine would have been. And so it followed the law perfectly. Mm-hmm. Now, all sorts of different gunsmiths came up with solutions for Tommy guns and AKs and, you name it. Anybody who wanted to add evil features to a semi-automatic weapon came up with a bullet button. And that bullet button let us, sell, 2-3 million ARs and AK style rifles in California over the last 10 years. And one of our long-term strategies was basically a briar patch strategy. We very much wanted to force the DOJ to get fed up and ban the bullet button guns, allowing us all to register and take the bullet buttons off. So now I have 5 to 10 various semi-automatic rifles in the safe sitting here behind me that don't have bullet buttons on them anymore, and it's a very nice thing.
Very cool. Very cool. So the CGF, what are some challenges you guys have in front of you right now that you're working on?
One of the things with the changes in the courts, so both, the Ninth Circuit now is not a slam dunk for the other side en banc. Mm-hmm. We had won most of our cases at the 3-judge panel level, including some trial courts. We convinced a Clinton appointee that the 10-day wait after your background check was complete was irrational, right? And, that was one of the ones that went all the way up and got a response from Justice Thomas for not taking it, right? At this point, our number one challenge is the amount of stuff that we need to challenge in California law. You have carry, you have where can you carry, you have assault weapons, you have the handgun roster, which just got worse. So it is now possible to comply with the microstamping requirement because they took the 2 microstamp requirement away and made it 1. But if you add a new gun, you have to take 3 off the list. how that works, how that possibly passes due process before you talk about it. It's like, every time you print a new Bible, you have to take 3 other religions' things off the shelf, right? So, if anything, I would tell you it's that we have almost too much to do. Ourselves, SAF, and FPC all partner on all of this. FPC, is very much kind of a sister organization. Brandon Combs was the executive director of CGF, also now the executive director of FPC. We've actually built an entire in-house legal team at FPC. So, we're kind of buying in bulk, if you will.
Sure.
And with FPC and SAF, obviously, a much more national view. But again, we end up in California a ton because most of the bad gun control started here.
Well, and open secret, we record these a little bit in advance, and we are recording this on the day that Amy Coney Barrett is supposed to be voted on to go to the Supreme Court. I'm going to operate under the assumption that she's going to make it. What does Amy Coney Barrett, what does that bring into the picture for the Cal Guns Foundation?
It really is a full reset of the courts, effectively. What we expect to have happen here is that one of many cases, and not just by ourselves in this coalition, are likely to be taken by the Supreme Court. And I think we're going to see quite a bit of expansive language talking about how all of these intermediate scrutiny, which is really what the Sentinel wanted, isn't the case. And that really throws out all the case law on all the circuits. So in a lot of ways, we have to go back and redo a lot of the work we've already done, but so that we can bring it up to the higher courts. Now, it is possible, especially because of the change in the appellate courts and district courts, that we're all going to start winning more often. And it may not actually have to go to the Supreme Court to keep the large capacity magazine ban in California struck, for example, right? But I think what we're going to see is that, carry is going to get to a place that it's rational and functional in all 50 states. We're all going to be able to have any semi-automatic weapon that's in common use, and those are most all of them, right? And, you can't ban handguns unless, that handgun is specifically a safety risk. That's one of the funniest things about the handgun roster is that, we don't challenge the handgun roster because the state can't have actual consumer protection laws making sure that, the gun doesn't go bang when you don't pull the trigger, right? That's actually great. We see no problem with that. But once it's been proven that it works, it can't fall off the list. It can't cost $100 a year. All these things that just you could not do with a constitutional right in any other context have to go.
Absolutely. So if somebody is watching, first of all, to be a member of CGF, they do not have to be a California resident, correct?
They do not. And we have quite a few that are not. We define our members as someone who's given us a contribution over the last year to 18 months. And we currently have about 13,000 people in that case and about 55,000 people that have, volunteered or donated over the last years. So
very cool. So if somebody is interested, they want to help out in California, because just like the exhaust laws for cars, what happens in California does spread. If they want to become a member of CGF, how do they do it?
They go to cagunrights.org and hit the donate button. Also, they'll see all of our work. One of our kind of core theses is we ask for people to donate after we do work. We want people to see the cases we file. We want to see the work we put in. And, we want people to be paying for product. And that product is, by the way, the minimum set of rights that the Second Amendment bestows you, because that minimum will be set here in California.
All right. Well, we're just about up at the end of this particular segment of these videos. Gene, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, man.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you. And looking forward to more of these.
All right. Folks, come join us tomorrow. We'll have another one up right about the same time.